At the 2025 G7 summit in Kananaskis, Alberta, the world witnessed an unprecedented moment. U.S. President Donald Trump left a day early, leaving an empty chair at the main table. This was more than a scheduling change. It symbolized a possible shift in the global order and cast doubt on America's commitment to its allies. The official reason for Trump's departure was the escalating Israel-Iran conflict, but his absence disrupted crucial sessions on Ukraine and global trade. For decades, the G7 has relied on American leadership to forge consensus. Trump's exit signaled a new era where U.S. priorities seemed to override collective action. The empty chair became a powerful metaphor for uncertainty, forcing other leaders like Canada's Mark Carney and France's Emmanuel Macron to navigate a destabilized summit. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, present as a guest, had hoped to secure more support for Ukraine's defense, but Trump's early exit canceled their critical meeting. The incident exposed deepening divisions within the Western alliance, as Zelensky's urgent plea for aid was left in limbo. The summit, intended to project unity, instead highlighted a growing divergence between the U.S. and its allies on handling the Ukraine conflict. The image of the empty chair lingered, a stark reminder of the void left by American disengagement. The world was left asking, if the U.S. steps back, who will step forward? The G7, an informal club of leading democracies, has long shaped global policy through consensus, not treaties. This year's summit was dominated by crises: the war in Ukraine, Middle East tensions, and U.S.-driven trade disputes. President Trump challenged the group's unity, questioning sanctions on Russia and suggesting direct talks with Putin, a stance at odds with other leaders. The only consensus reached was on the Middle East, affirming Israel's right to self-defense and calling for de-escalation with Iran. Yet this unity was fleeting. Deep fractures remained over Ukraine and trade, leaving the summit's core purpose in doubt. The G7's ability to project stability was undermined by public disagreements and Trump's abrupt departure. Allies were left to wonder if the era of American-led cooperation was ending. The summit closed with more questions than answers about the future of Western unity. After Trump's exit, a defining image emerged: President Zelensky sitting in the U.S. president's empty chair. This act symbolized Ukraine's desperate need for leadership and the void left by American absence. The summit failed to produce a unified statement on Ukraine, as U.S. resistance blocked stronger commitments. Instead, a weaker summary replaced the usual joint communiqué, lacking forceful condemnation of Russia or concrete aid promises. Canada responded by pledging $2 billion in military aid to Ukraine, while European leaders privately reaffirmed their support. The alliance showed resilience, but also a willingness to act without U.S. leadership. Zelensky left disappointed without new American commitments or a direct meeting with Trump. His plea underscored that, despite Allied support, U.S. power remains crucial for Ukraine's defense. The fractured G7 front left the future of that support uncertain. The summit was further strained by U.S. protectionist tariffs: 50% on steel and aluminum, 25% on cars, and a universal 10% on most imports. These measures hit allies as hard as rivals, fueling economic tensions and fears of a global trade war. With Trump gone, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent faced tough talks as allies condemned the tariffs and warned of retaliation. The disputes prompted leaders to rethink dependencies, with Canada inviting non-G7 nations to build broader coalitions. This signaled a shift toward diversifying partnerships and reducing reliance on the U.S. The only trade deal announced was a limited US-UK agreement, offering little reassurance to other allies. The summit's message was clear: America First policies risk alienating partners and reshaping global alliances. Allies began exploring new economic ties in response to U.S. unpredictability. The 2025 G7 summit exposed a turning point for America's global role. Trump's early exit and the empty chair symbolized a voluntary retreat from leadership, creating a power vacuum. The principles of collective security and cooperation are now in question, with the U.S. risking isolation from traditional allies. Europe and Canada are already seeking new partnerships, hinting at a more fragmented world order. Adversaries like Russia and China may exploit these divisions, seeing Western disunity as an opportunity. The lack of a unified G7 stance on Ukraine sent a message of weakness to Moscow. The future hinges on Washington's choices. Continued disengagement could erode U.S. influence, while renewed commitment might restore alliances. For now, the empty chair is a warning. The story of American leadership is at a crossroads. Whether the U.S. leads or becomes just another voice remains to be seen.